are live. How's it going, everyone? Today we have a really exciting project that's focused on developing gaming and NFTs on Solana. The team is working on a handful of really exciting initiatives, ranging from reincorporating liquidity pools, building out games, launching amazing art NFT collections, and ultimately looking to launch an MMORPG. So a lot is going on under the hood here. Luckily, I have Dog, the lead of NinjaProtocol, joining us to outline everything that's going on with the protocol. How's it going, man?
Hey, Greg. How's it going? Hello, everybody.
It's amazing to have you on here. I know we had to reschedule a little bit because I was under the weather, finally getting all over that. So super excited to just have you on and be able to jump in what's going on. I know there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. Things are getting closer and closer to release, but just to start, for anybody that's new, can you just outline very brief what NinjaProtocol is and the overarching goal that you guys are striving for?
Yeah, so just to keep it simple, NinjaProtocol is a community bootstrap project that started around May of 2021. And the goal is to create an ecosystem of gaming and NFT related applications and products. And with the major focus being the community, as it is a community bootstrap project.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. And there's so many things that you guys are doing along the way. I know you have the mobile game, you guys have launched a couple NFT collections, and then I was also checking out some of the gameplay on the MMORPG. So it looks like you guys have been hard at work grinding. I even know there's probably a couple things I missed there, like the dashboard, but we're going to get into all of that just to poke a little bit more on what Ninja is. I know you mentioned it was community bootstrapped. Can you touch a little bit on the background and the beginnings of Ninja, how this all started, and pretty quickly just how you guys were able to get to where you're at now?
Yeah, so for those of you guys that haven't been around Solana for some time, Ninja started as a literal meme token. It was created by an anonymous dev who called themselves Yuzu. And this was in the early days of Solana when the Cope airdrop just happened, and then everybody was on the airdrop hype, like it was the airdrop meta where everybody was just creating low quality tokens left and right and airdropping them. That was the craze, right? So Ninja was one of those tokens. And I was actually in the middle of I just completed writing my white paper on a project that I wanted to build on Solana. And I was actually shopping around with some of the more well-known funds out here on Solana. And literally the day after I finished this paper and I started emailing it to I emailed it to Solana, FTX, like a lot of people, and I saw Ninja, and Ninja stood out to me from the beginning because it utilized the airdrops slightly differently by giving it to people who actually contributed art or server boosted the Discord, which costs like $5, right? Mm-hmm. And this sounds super simple if you compare it to today's landscape where everyone's got like their membership gate, and you got all this, like the Discords are so fancy now, right? Everyone's all on board Discord. But a year ago, the climate was not like that. Nobody used Discord. If you try to talk to a project, they would talk to you on Telegram. They'd be like, come to our Telegram. Now Discord's become like the main utility, right? So in the early days, even doing something so simple like just rewarding airdrop tokens to people that contribute art was a big deal because it created a small but simple positive feedback loop, right? Where people contribute to the project small amounts of art that are low effort as well, but in return they get token that's worth nothing, right?
Yeah.
But the incentives are kind of aligned. So after I saw that, it interested me. So I talked to the lead dev and I was like, I like what you did here because the Ninja token, unlike all the airdrop tokens, did not fall in price when the Serum market was launched. It held its price of like 7 cents. So I was like, that's really amazing because usually the airdrops, people just take the free money right away, like $100, whatever, So I was like, what's going on here? So I dove deeper. Long story short, I jumped on as the strategic advisor or whatnot. That's what we called it. That's what we called it. And then one thing led to another. Um, Eventually, I ended up hard forking the token away from the original dev with the team that was put together, and we started, what is now NinjaProtocol, right? After we hard forked the token, we also needed to solve the fractionalization issue that the token had. So these are really early days of Solana where no one even talked about Solana back then, So a lot of things that exist today, a lot of the tools and applications didn't exist back then, which is why, a lot of people come to Ninja for the first time and they'll be like, why are these guys building so much stuff? Well, because back then, nothing existed, like we had to build all our own stuff, right? And in the big picture, in the long run, it makes sense to have your own applications because if something comes up, you got a bug, you got to fix something, you can get on it right away, right? Your applications. But if you have a third party application, then what do you got to do? You got to contact them. They got to put it on their calendar. You know what I mean? It's an ordeal every time, right? So it makes more sense anyway for the long term. So, these are all the kind of early sacrifices we took to get to where we are today. We had a very successful pool launch in September with the Orca launch, where Ninja managed to climb $4, and we were actually one of the top traded tokens on Solana for a long extended period. We were doing millions of dollars in volume. So, and then this is the second bear market cycle that we've actually endured. We've already gone through Solana crashing from 65 to 27. Now we're going through Solana crashing from 260 or whatever to 80 something. And it's been a crazy journey, but now we got about 13 full-time members. We work with a handful of contractors, maybe like 15, 20 other guys that we work with on a weekly basis. And we got several NFT projects and games going right now.
Yeah, that's amazing, Addy Dog. Just to hear about how Ninja has developed, really the fact that it did come from this community bootstrapped ideals, and then you guys came together and forked the token, adding more aspirations to the protocol, really moving forward with this idea of building gaming and NFT applications throughout Solana with this end goal of an MMORPG. And I think you touched, there's a couple different ways to go here. I think it was just really important to set that context down for Ninja. And you guys obviously have a ton of documentation for people who want to go through and learn more about the beginnings. But that should set the stage pretty well for anyone who might not be too familiar to Ninja. And now we can start getting into a lot more of the present things. So I think something that has just been very recent to Ninja, something we've been discussing over messaging a little bit, and you guys have been sharing to Twitter, is how you guys are now looking to attract liquidity for Ninja. So you mentioned the Orca LP pool, but you guys have actually moved forward from that now and have introduced a novel way of providing liquidity. I think part of it comes from an experience you guys have had on Radium, but pretty much the big thing is moving more towards protocol-owned liquidity, but doing it via NFTs. So it'd be great for you to just jump in here and give some context on this. Maybe even start with issues you guys had with traditional liquidity, and set the stage there would be great.
Okay, so let's like rewind. I actually wrote a thread about this for anyone interested. There's a very long, like 60 post thread that you can read. But for this, I'll give the short version, right? So the Orca pool was actually a great success. We raised, that pool at the peak was at 12 million TVL. It was doing like $2-3 million daily volume. It was a great success. It was a very successful pool. We were one of the top pools on Orca when they announced the Three Arrow Capital investment round and launched all the pools. We were one of those pools that happened back in September with that release. So huge success. Now, here's the problem with the Orca pool that came afterwards. You know, when the numbers are going up, everybody's, buying anything that is a JPEG, or they don't care, money's everywhere. It's great. But when the markets trend downwards like this, and we experience like this kind of like selling pressure, and people are strapped for liquidity, it's not so great. And you know, the emissions over time are designed to cliff off. So people are designed to be less incentivized to provide liquidity over time. So what do we see with Orca? From its peak now down to its current, it's dropped like 90% of the TVL. And the only reason the remaining 10% is in there, which is about like still 900,000, about a million, we still have the liquidity, is because we have some very large holders of Ninja that are very strong believers of the project, and they're in it for the long haul. And it's beyond incentives for them. They are providing liquidity not just for the incentives, but also because they are wanting to support the project and ensure that the project has a future, right? So that was a kind of our last line. And you know, fortunately, our holders held throughout this like turbulence that we recently had. And the Radium pool is a pool we launched that's supplementary to this. And because the Orca pool is denominated in Ninja Sol, while the Radium pool is denominated in Ninja USD. So they're actually separate markets. And we needed to fill the void of liquidity on our serum markets as well. So this is why we launched the liquidity pool. Now, in process of launching this liquidity pool, I was thinking about all the problems and issues that I saw with Orca. And the solution to making sure I don't have those same issues with Radium was the Neo Ninja NFT collection. So that's basically how this all came together. And the main issues with all the liquidity pool protocols is that they are driven strictly solely by emissions, meaning that generally when a pool launches, it always launches with a high emission rate that cliffs off over time, whether it be 2% a week, whether it be every 2 months it falls off, whatever the case may be. Sometimes people run pools with 1 month emissions, and it's just kind of like a big announcement, try to get as much as possible, and then whatever survives after survives, right? Some people use that strategy. We elected to go for more long-term strategies where we reward people that give liquidity for an entire year. That's what we did for Orca, but it cliffs off over time. So the APR also goes down. So naturally, yield farming is driven strictly by profits right now, right? So it's just the strict calculations for everybody. There's no like attachment to the project because the incentives are not aligned between someone that provides liquidity and the project that is gaining liquidity.
Definitely.
It's not aligned. It's you're paying for it with emissions, right? That's all it is. So
yeah, and just to jump in here, a lot of people in the space, it's just been coined as mercenary liquidity, right? Where we saw very specifically in DeFi Summer, where we saw people jump from project to project, just moving over their same liquidity position, selling the yield token, and then moving to the next protocol. So something like, per se, PancakeSwap would be getting liquidity for maybe a couple weeks. Their token would have massive sell pressure, and then the liquidity wouldn't even stay there. So just setting the landscape more. This is a very prominent issue that there is in
it's a big problem. It's a huge problem because it doesn't work, right? The theory of liquidity pools is that a project gives emissions in their native token of the pool that people are going to be providing liquidity for, right? As an incentive to draw liquidity and as an incentive for people to find out about the project. And in the beginning, they're incentivized by emissions to learn more and hopefully stay after the emissions are over, right? So the fact that the emissions cliff off shouldn't matter to them. In theory, this is the concept. And when numbers go up, everything works, right? Because everybody's making money. So every theory works, right? But when numbers go down is when you see which theories hold or not, right? Because it's got to work in both market functions, right? Because markets don't always go up. They don't always go down. They're always dynamic, right? So it's since the focus is so primarily on emissions and driven by emissions, the liquidity has no loyalty to any project. like you're saying, right? So what happens as soon as emission ends or gets low, they go somewhere else, wherever the emissions is highest, right? It's always constant shuffling, right?
Yep.
So it doesn't achieve its goal because it's driven by the wrong motivations, wrong incentives. There's no like feedback loop between creator of the project and the people that are providing liquidity. There's no connection. It's just there's project, there's liquidity providers, and then in the middle there's emissions. One side's providing it, one side's taking it.
Yeah, and we've
Now,
definitely, just to jump in here, seen some people start to attempt to solve this, right? We saw protocols like Ohm, who came out and did something similar to protocol owned liquidity, which just seemed to be somewhat better depending on how you look at what the token structured, whatever. But at the very least, the protocol owns the liquidity. So it looks like you guys have a novel spin on top of this that is pretty similar in the sense where the protocol, Ninja Protocol itself, is not actually losing the liquidity while still being able to give out incentives. And you guys did this through the Neo Ninja NFT. So it'd be great to hear the thoughts behind that, how something like the Neo Ninja NFT is able to attempt to solve a problem that we're seeing of mercenary liquidity.
Yeah, I like that term actually, mercenary liquidity. So Neo Ninja solves this problem in a very simple way. Okay, so the current landscape of DeFi is what liquidity protocols like to do is they will create an LP token, and then to give utility to that LP token, they'll wrap it again, and they'll create something like a double dip, which is Orca's version, and there's Fusion Pool, which is Radium's version, right? Where you put two tokens in, you get LP token, you put LP token in, you get another LP token, or you don't get a token and it's just a contract on the chain. So what Neo Ninja does is it effectively becomes the second wrap. So instead of the liquidity pool token being wrapped into another liquidity pool token, what we are doing is essentially wrapping it into an NFT. And by doing so, we open up this liquidity pool token to all the utilities and things that you can build on top of an NFT. So because you're able to do that, now you can build out different value propositions for the LP outside of just straight emissions, where emissions are still part of the incentives and you still get it. However, now because it's an NFT, you have hundreds of other ways to build value for the holders of the tokens, right? So it's quite simple if you think about it. That's it. Like it's just we're creating an NFT and opening up all those, like think of it like a tech tree, right? We just like leveled up, and we leveled up from wrapping LP into another LP. And get this, you said protocol owned liquidity, right? With OHM, this is true, but the protocol still, it's not really protocol owned liquidity, actually. It's kind of the protocol's owners owned liquidity in a sense, right? Because they have control of it, and it could be removed. I don't know, right? This is more like the mint fee that's going into this pool. This is going to be in this pool like indefinitely. Like, so nobody owns this liquidity. Like we don't own it. The NFT holders do own the liquidity pool's utility, right? Because the liquidity pool is wrapped into the NFT. But unlike traditional wraps, this is you can't unwrap it. So it's a one-way street, right? So now there's a little bit of a risk for the buyers of the liquidity pool token, right? They're taking some risk because now they can wrap their Ninja and USDC, for example, in the form of Sol into an NFT and get exposure to this liquidity pool. However, they're not able to withdraw that liquidity back out. That's the downside, right? But to offset that downside, now this LP is an NFT, and we're starting to build out all the value propositions that you can with an NFT. And we're doing that with gaming. So for example, we're doing the airdrops of like a helmet, for example. There was a helmet concept that I put out on Twitter. It's a long concept, so I won't get into it. But airdrops that will work with the Neo Ninja NFTs for free. We're building a game for the Neo Ninjas. We'll be plugging in the Neo Ninja 3D avatars like all over like different metaverses. So we're building out all the utilities that you would get out of an NFT project. to offset the fact that you can't unwrap it. However, the value of the LP is still there, right? Because you're still getting the emissions.
Yeah,
but you're locked into the project, right? You're locked into the project. However, the emissions are no longer the focus. It doesn't even matter anymore, right? Because it's not interesting. It's all about what can the NFT do now, right? What is this going to build? The incentives are aligned properly, right? That's what it is. Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to add on there, on the fact that the incentives are now more aligned. People are minting expecting to get an NFT, which, as you mentioned, can have a ton of different utility throughout the Ninja ecosystem, being incorporated into games, getting airdrops. This is what we see from utility as NFTs. But at the same time, the capital that was raised from the NFT, it's not like it's going back to the team or to anybody else to decide what it's doing. It's being used to solve this problem of having liquidity for Ninja. It also still routes the NFT holders some emissions, but that's more of just one of the utilities that is now aligning them with the entire protocol. So I think it's really interesting how you guys are, quite frankly, just looking to solve this problem of people coming to the protocol just for the yields, as opposed to people coming to the protocol for the ecosystem, the tools, and the games that you guys are building. So yeah, this is great. And I think it was just really good to hear about it a second time. And I hope it clears it up for some viewers. I think the best part is we're really just starting to scratch the surface of what NinjaProtocol is.
Yeah.
I know you guys have another NFT collection as well. So we can tie up Neo Ninja for now, unless there's anything you want to throw out there. The biggest thing is, go ahead.
No, sorry. No, I was just gonna say, like, it's such a long topic, and I know we have things we want to get through. So I think for anyone that wants to learn more about it, there's a really great Medium article we just put out that summarizes things. So take a look at that for more.
Awesome. And is it the Neo Ninja Perks and Game Mechanics Medium?
Yeah. I think it's the latest Medium. Yeah, that should be it.
Cool. Just dropped it in the YouTube chat for anybody who's viewing there.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, just to move forward a little bit more into the NFT ecosystem, you guys also have the Ninja Pixels. I think my quick understanding of this is this started out as just a fun NFT collection, but now it's starting to evolve a little bit more into something like a DAO, giving users an active voice in what's going on. It'd be great to just hear more about that and just have you dive into what the Ninja Pixels are. This is a separate collection from what we just explained about the Neo Ninja.
Yeah, so Ninja Pixels is probably my favorite project right now. It's so cool.
Awesome.
So just to give a little background, Ninja Pixels started back in last, I want to say October or so. And back then on Solana, we were going through the Pixel Mania, I like to call it, okay, where everybody was just shipping out like these really bad, like low effort pixelated arts, and they were all selling out, and it was just like bananas because people were just like crazy. It was up only, right? So, for us, like, we're just building, right? We're just building and we're just observing because we didn't release, this is our first 2 releases of NFTs, and we've been around for 10 months, right? We built for 10 months before we released our first 2 NFT collections. So, we're watching all these people release this crap, and it just really bothered me. So I started this kind of Twitter campaign where I'm like, guys, you guys want pixelated art? I'll give you pixelated art for free. This is just so ridiculous, right? So it started as that, and then naturally, with how just we operate and how we think, one thing led to another, and what started as a free collection. This is another thing. I wanted to create a pixelated NFT collection that's free of all rake. This was very important to me. I wanted to create a system where there's 0 rake. So no royalty fees, no mint fees, no trading fees, no marketplace fees. I wanted all 3 because I wanted to create a free NFT that I give out to people for free. And I wanted that ecosystem to hold all the value that's traded in between the participants so that when someone enters the Pixel ecosystem, they stay there, that value. It stays within each other. right? As opposed to marketplace fee every trade, royalty every trade, mint fee before the trades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking all the value out of the participants. I wanted to create a system where there's no value extracted, and I had no other plan beyond that. I was like, let's do that first and let's see what happens, right? So we built all that. We built a free collection, free marketplace. Our marketplace has 0 fees, 0 royalties, no mint fee. You got to pay some rent. That's it. So it started out as that 2,500 at a time. We're going to release for free by giving out pixel tokens. People that come to our live streams, we do giveaways, gave it to other communities for free for like 2-3 months. And then recently we started coming out with the development. Like we came out with the pixel game preview, the mobile game preview. We started discussing like things about pixel. We also made the decision to list on Magic Eden. This was a big thing. So I'm a little bit of a crypto OG in a lot of sense, I want to say, in terms of my beliefs. So to me, having a marketplace that takes 2% per every sale is just not realistic. There's no way in the long term this will last. Down the road, competition will heighten up for marketplaces. Fees will go down. 2% is way too high. Like the marketplace is taking so much money out of the ecosystem, right? So I was really against listing any of our NFTs anywhere else because I don't want to charge marketplace fees. This is to me a net negative on the communities that are built around the NFTs. If you're thinking for the long term, you can't keep taking that 2% out, and if you look at the royalty structure of something like Ninja Pixels, it's 0. Royalty structure of Neo Ninjas, the royalties go right back into the loop, right? So there's no value extracted there either. So it started as this, but when it went on Magic Eden, people started trading this, right? And this caught me off guard because I'm like, what are you doing, right? Why are people trading this on Magic Eden? We didn't even market it or anything, right? But people are trading it. And it makes no sense to me because it's like, why are you willing to pay market fees and pay higher to trade on Magic Eden? And it got me thinking that, okay, you know what? I severely underestimated the degeneracy of Magic Eden. It's a very magical place after all. Like people just look at pictures and buy anything. They don't read anything, right? Clearly not, right? Because on the description, it says these NFTs are free. You don't have to buy them. You can just get it for free, right? So, so this really caught me off guard. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, if people are willing to pay for this, let's change the format. So I recently just completely changed the system on everyone. And here's the beautiful thing about it. I can do this because I told everyone from the start, hey guys, listen, this collection is going to be free, but be wary. It's going to be like a real game. In a real game, guess what happens when the game developer wants to make changes? You don't get to do anything but cry. That's it. You can cry all you want on the forums, but if we decide to make a change, we're going to make it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we recently did with Pixels. So now Pixels version 2, which is coming out. This is super sick. I love where this is going. So I've created a new format where, okay, the first 2,500 will remain free, right? These are like the first generation, I guess. Same collection, but whatever. So second 2,500, get this. The mint fee of the second collection, the second 2,500, will be decided by the first 2,500. Okay. They'll vote on it. They'll vote on the mint fee, okay? And then here's the second part. The mint raise will be voted on by the first 2,500, and they get 2 choices. A, split the bounty between each other, between themselves, right? Or reinvest it into the Pixel DAO and share it with their new 2,500 friends for the future, right? So they will vote on that, right? And then we'll see. That's what's happening next. And then we'll see. It's an experiment. We just figure it out as we go. And the DAO now controls the pixels. The DAO now controls like whatever this is going to generate in the direction of this free collection. But we, the game masters, ultimately will have like dictatorship role in this. It's like a hybrid DAO kind of, So, But yeah, I'm super excited about this because the pixels are trading like crazy and the floor is rising. It's such a interesting phenomenon, and it's we're getting ready to release the mobile game, and we're thinking now that the Ninja Pixels will become like logins for a wide variety of like indie games. So we're gonna
Okay.
keep building more and more and more and more. But it depends on the dojo. They call themselves the dojo now, right?
Okay.
So it's it's like dojo but dojo, right? It's
Uh-huh.
great. So they'll decide. I mean, we'll see. It depends on what they want to do, right?
Yeah. I think
They
it's
raise,
really
yeah, yeah.
interesting how you guys are transferring more of an active voice towards the community through something like the Ninja Pixels. You guys did go in and change how they worked, but you're fundamentally still very much weighing the opinion of the community. So I think
Yeah.
that's super interesting to have this go, and it's evolved along the way in crypto fashion where this just
Mhm.
started out as a fun collection, but then as the community started to get behind it, you guys were thinking of more ideas how to incorporate it, do things like potentially an indie game arcade, as you're mentioning, I think are super amazing. And it's cool to see these two collections work in unison, where you have the Neo Ninja, but then you also have the Ninja Pixels, which are focused on their own aspect of the
Mhm.
Ninja Protocol ecosystem.
Yep. And they all connect to each other too, because they all use the same applications. And in the end, actually, we're planning to release one NFT collection a month for the next few months. And they all have different designs and features. We already have the artwork done. Websites are going up, applications are being built, and they're all going to be part of the Ninja Protocol ecosystem. So, what we've been doing the first 6, 8 months of our development is building out all of our ecosystem, just like we said we were going to do in our hackathon presentation. We're currently revamping all our sites, refreshing them to be up to date. Right now, we're refreshing the decks. We already updated most of the sites, but we have everything in house, right? We have our own decks, we have our own swap. We have our own pools. We have our own marketplace profile page, like Discord gate. Everything is in house, right? So this gives us so much freedom in how we utilize an NFT collection because as we build and build and build and we keep building more and more, every time we build a new collection, we can just plug it into our ecosystem and automatically it just has everything right from the start, right?
Mhm.
And we don't need to extract value from our NFTs. That's the core difference of Ninja and other projects because we're not raising through our NFTs like other projects. We're just utilizing NFTs. You know what I mean? Like we're
Mhm.
utilizing them. We're not raising through them. We're not trying to take money from our community through them. We have liquidity pools for that. If we need money, we can always sell Ninja, right? So it's I think it's going to take some time. It takes some time for people to see and understand why things are built differently. Because we're not the traditional, like we're just like hyping things up and stake your NFTs, get tokens. This is not going on, right? But in the long term, I do believe that people will come to understand the differences between how Ninja Protocol applications and NFTs are built, and like fundamentally they're different right from the foundation of it. And this will come to light, I think, especially in market conditions like now. Bear markets are good times for projects like this. That's when we get to shine.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we've gone on this journey so far of a couple of Ninja's NFT collections, the real utility you guys are putting behind them because of the ecosystem that you have built out. And I think something that could just shed more light for the users. I think we touched on a lot about what's going on, what's gone on, and hinted a little about things that are building. But to my understanding, you guys are pretty focused on getting this first Ninja Pixels game out, which looks like it's starting to tie up. You guys are also working on a dashboard as well. I know there's probably a handful of other things, but I think it would just be great to give a general overview for users and people listening in
Mhm.
to what is Ninja honed in on now? Where do they think there was a lot of value to be added in the sense of NFT tooling and gaming as well?
So right now, our main focus is actually our main focus recently shifted to Neo Ninja. So recently, this week, actually on Monday, I made the decision to shift some more resources to Neo Ninja because just to push it out a little faster because of the conditions of the when we launched. Like the war started right after we launched, so and it's already like we don't do that much outreach, so it's already a little bit rough. But we're not really worried about it. Um, but to get back to your question, yeah. So right now, our main focus is Neo Ninja. We're releasing the Neo Ninja dashboard, which will have all the statistics and data related to where the mint fee is going and what it's generating. We're also going to be released. That's coming out this weekend. We're also releasing the Neo Ninja concept game. This is actually really cool too. I want to touch on this for a second. So
Of course.
this Neo Ninja game that we're creating right now, it's going to be a ninja game, but the concept is that we're going to try to depict ninjas accurately in the future. And what I mean by that is we want to portray ninjas for exactly what they are and be historically accurate. And to do that, we're already consulting with a actual ninja clan, like surviving ninja clan. They historically served for shoguns. One of the living descendants. We recently interviewed her. It's an amazing interview, and it came to light that what we know in Western media and culture to be ninjas is so wrong from what they actually were, right?
Uh-huh.
Like the concept of fighting for ninjas is barren. They never fought. That was like absolute last resort. They were more spies than fighters. And the whole
Interesting.
purpose of a ninja was to blend in and not be seen and
Uh-huh.
get information for the emperor and the shoguns, right? They had weapons in the case they absolutely had to because they failed their mission and got caught. They can escape and save their lives. That's why they had weapons, not because they're going out and fighting. Although they did do assassinations, but the tools and the weapons they use, which Suzak shows us on her stream on the interview we did with her, are much more like sneaky. It's like there's like a little like a rock, like a metal, like kind of ring with poison. They'll tap you on the shoulder and you die. Things like that, you know.
Interesting.
So we're trying to create a game that depicts this reality, but fast forwarded into the future for the theme. So a stealth RPG game where there is no combat. There's no combat. Instead, it's like imagine you enter an instance and there's enemies patrolling. It's like an office building or something, and you got to maneuver around, avoid line of sight, aggro. You have tools that are going to be NFTs. You have consumables that are going to be NFTs. If you get to the end without getting caught, you'll be able to mint something that could be a variety of things. That's your reward at the end. That's your payoff, right? But if you get caught, you lose. You start over. And every time you play, we're going to incorporate a gate where you have to pay a little bit of ninja, like a microtransaction. Like think Hearthstone pack, like $2 or something, right? But you know what's great about all this? Guess what Neo Ninja holders get? They get ninja emissions, right? So
Nice.
they use their ninja emissions to play in the ecosystem, or they can sell it, whatever. That's up to them, right?
Yeah. And just for some clarity here, this sounds really exciting. I like how you guys are looking back to get something that's historically accurate, but then also transposing it into a fun game that can be played now and people can enjoy. Just curious here, you guys have a couple games going on. So one is the Ninja Pixels game, and this is just the mobile app. And then the Neo Ninja game, which you're referring to, is the completely put together MMORPG that has been under development. Just want to ask on that.
No. Okay.
Okay, so there's three things. There we go. Just wanted to make sure I was on the right wavelength there.
Okay, so we have a pretty big team, and like that's one thing that new people come to Ninja Protocol all the time. They're like, man, you guys have so much going on, right? And that's the number one thing we hear, and we're always just like, yeah, but everything's like getting built and progressing. You know what I mean? Like every project's got its own team. Teams work with other teams. Like we've been around the block. We know how to work with each other now. We've been working together for 10 months, right? So we're very functional as a team. So the Neo Ninja game is a game that we started very recently, like literally this week. And here's the reality. People may not understand this, but game development is not what game development used to be like 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. Nowadays, even a single developer using platforms like Unity and Unreal can make a game in like a day, like a single dev can make a game, like in a couple months that used to take like years for a full studio. Technology has evolved in the game design department as well, right? Software and technology as computers became more powerful. So making a game like Neo Ninja, very simple concept, no combat and very minimal features. Kind of like what you see out there in the NFT metaverse meta is like you have avatars that walk around in environments. This is like, you can make this in a day. Like this is so easy to create. And I think it might be a big wake up call to a lot of people on Solana to see how easy this is to create. We're literally creating everything for Neo Ninja game. It all started this week.
Interesting.
Like it's going to take us 1 week to show you guys what we're releasing on the weekend. Right. And, and we'll go from there. But the main focus is the Ninja MMO, right? That's just kind of always been building in the background at all times. But here's the realistic thing about an MMO is an MMO never ends. It never ends. It literally never ends. So we are actually 3 months into alpha already. For people might not understand this, but this game is every 2-3 weeks we got a new build that we have people testing, our largest holders. We just released their launcher. We just fixed UI. So every couple of weeks our top holders, our legendary ninjas, are testing out the alpha game. And we hope to be in beta with that by September. So ultimately, this is the major undertaking that we're doing. Neo Ninja is just like, it's so easy to do. So we're doing it. It's just that people have this misconception that building something like this is like a tall task, but it's not. It's very simple stuff. It's just we never did it because there's no need for it. And now there is, so we're doing it. And Ninja Pixel, the mobile game, that's a one-man team too. We got a dev and a graphics guy on it, right? It's a simple like indie game. So that's just rolling on its own. It should be done in a couple weeks. Like we're going to be releasing a playable version that people can download to our Pixel holders very soon. Actually, this weekend we might release Pixel Alpha and Neo Ninja Alpha to both communities. So we'll have 3 alphas going. Why not? Well, why can't we have alphas going? Community can keep contributing feedback. Like if you watch right now in the Neo Ninja channels, we have a channel called Avatar Design. We're letting the community literally design the avatar with us. Why not? It's going to be their avatars.
Yeah,
and
I think there's just jumping in here. I think there's it makes more sense to me as you explain it. You guys aren't looking to build. You guys have already been building out a MMORPG. One of my questions is curious, just like how long this has been in development, but I'll ask that in a second. But along the way, you guys are also understanding that you guys have the resources. You have a team big enough to fill out demand for things like these smaller indie games, the Pixel Ninjas, also the Neo Ninja, and really just starting to test the waters for Web3 gaming, building in economies for these things. And I think something that is notable is that you guys are understanding both aspects. You're not sitting here and acting like these indie games are going to be the next biggest AAA game. You guys are, you came on here and you're saying like, look, these don't need an incredible amount of resources. They obviously take time and people, but we can build these while we've been continuing and are building out this bigger MMO RPG, and they can all happen at once. This is the idea of NinjaProtocol almost being some sort of a game studio where you guys are focused on this big project, but you can have smaller teams working on indie games, starting to incorporate tokenomics on a lower level. So I think it's super interesting and puts into perspective that just because you guys are building these smaller indie games doesn't necessarily mean you're shifting away massive resources away from the MMORPG itself. I'm curious just to tag on the MMO for longer. You guys obviously have a handful of gameplay out, some streams, a fairly significant amount of content. I'm curious, how long has this been in development, and where did the idea for this stem from? This was obviously something that was thought about pretty early on in Ninja Protocol.
Yeah, so the concept of a ninja game, as we call it, it is just like everything else at Ninja. Everything that we build is always in a constant state of like evolving. Like it's always evolving, and we're always adjusting to just whatever we face as we go along, and what the industry kind of comes out with as we go along. So the Ninja game started out at first as an action RPG that was going to be very Diablo-like. Our first concept of the game was very different from what we have right now. It wasn't going to be a full-fledged MMO. It was going to be more action RPG-like. But then, we had some internal discussions. We decided that, okay, you know what? This is, if we're going to go for it, let's really go for it. Let's build something that's more expansive. So we decided to shift to the MMO approach. We found a back-end solution that we can build on top of. And basically, this has been in development since last July. The MMO has been in development since last July. And we've been slowly expanding the team as time goes. And January, we recently added even more developers to the main game. So now we got a combination of maybe 6 to 7 people working on it, really all around the clock, like graphics modelers, game devs, yeah. And I mean, it just keeps going. And the first thing we're going to do with the MMO is, we're realistic people. We know that we're not going to release World of Warcraft by September. It's just not possible. We don't have the team. We don't have the money, right? But honestly, Ninja Game was supposed to be a concept that we were going to use to raise money. But the Orca pool was such a big success. We actually had a public sale scheduled for December, but we canceled it because we raised so much money through the decks, right? Mm-hmm. So our plans just kind of kept shifting, and now here we are. The first thing we're focusing on literally right now that we're building out is our first blockchain connection into the MMO, because the MMO world is pretty built. We spent a lot of time. Now we're starting to optimize the UI and the game engine, and hopefully by September we want to be in beta, open beta, or closed beta, with a larger amount of our holders. Where the first concept we're going to introduce is a pet system, a pet NFT system into the MMO. We'll build that out first and develop that kind of gameplay out. Because if you think about an MMO, like just with pets, we can build like thousands of hours of gameplay for people, with the right loops. So we'll finish that out first. And then eventually, maybe next summer, we have an expansion that adds another feature to the MMO. So the MMO is just going to keep going. It's going to keep going. We're just going to keep expanding. It's an MMO.
Yeah.
Like what? World of Warcraft is still going, right? Well, it's 20 years, right? So yeah. We're just going to keep building it in the background. And, one thing that I want to point out that's really cool about Ninja Protocol is that, when we hire someone, like we recently hired someone for a mobile game, right? We're hiring this person, but they're getting connected into a system of 13 full-time team members that are here like 10 hours a day. And along with all the other contractors. So we don't work with contractors where like, here, do this, and then they just go do it and come back. We try to incorporate them into a team structure and see how they perform. And if they end up working with us for 3 months, they usually end up becoming part of the team. That's how everyone's joined,
That's amazing.
So these guys that jump in, like this mobile game dev, man, he's solid dev, but he's getting the support of our full team. That's why this thing's like coming out, right? And if you think about it in a team environment, like, okay, I'm working on Ninja Game. Hey, but this Ninja Mobile guy needs some help with something I can solve in 15 seconds. That's going to take him hours. Okay, I'll solve it. And then I'll go back to what I'm doing, right? So we're a very functional team because we've been around. We're battle tested, right? We've been through bear markets too. So this is nothing new for us.
Definitely. And I think this is just starting to get down to the end of my discussion. I have one more bigger question. I have a hard stop, but there's definitely more topics we wanted to cover. Yeah. But overall, I think we've done a massive job. And even
for sure,
I spent a few hours like sifting through the Ninja ecosystem, but laying out everything that's happening. Something that I just thought about is, wow, there's a lot going on. But when you really dissect the pie and break it down into what's being built, it's the fact that Ninja Protocol is just looking to build and develop gaming and NFTs on Solana, and you guys are exploring multiple different avenues, of course, incorporating NFTs, looking to build out a incredibly robust blockchain game like the MMORPG, also exploring indie games more arcade style, all while interacting with the community. It's super interesting in having it laid out and understanding the magnitude and size of the team and the outlook is super interesting. To kind of flip this and open it up, and I know this could get pretty lengthy here, but I'm just curious from the aspect of Ninja Protocol building inside and building blockchain gaming, what are your thoughts on the current Web3 blockchain gaming landscape? Maybe some positives, some negatives, but just how you've seen the space built and maybe where you see Ninja positioned. And we can probably cap it off with that. We'll definitely have some updates here, but I think this will be a fun one hearing from yourself, Addy.
I'm going to try to keep it as simple and short as possible because I know we're at the hard stop. So, here's my interpretation of GameFi, and I want to give some background on myself before I explain this. Many of you guys may not know, but I was actually a very big Twitch streamer in the past. So I've been a very big gamer for most of my life. I am an old school gamer. I participated in the very first World Cyber Games, which started esports. I was at a qualifier for that. I'm very old dinosaur of gaming. So I've been around the block, and I've also had a very successful Twitch stream on Twitch before Amazon days. It used to be one of the biggest streams on Twitch for Diablo 3. So I've been around the block in terms of gaming, seeing it from all sorts of angles, seeing it as a gamer, seeing it as a streamer, seeing it as now as a game developer. And I've also had a long exposure to crypto. I've been around in crypto for quite some time as well. So you could call me an OG of crypto. So I bring a very unique blend of views, in my opinion, to this space. And those views are that the current landscape is too short-sighted. Yeah. They don't understand NFTs. They don't understand that when you create NFTs, you are building a foundation that is forever for the future. And it is the most important decision you're ever going to make, because what you do at the beginning of the foundation will determine your subsequent actions thereon forward. Because the way that DeFi works is it's kind of like Lego blocks. You keep building these composable blocks on top of each other. That's what creates a successful DeFi ecosystem, right? And what you see right now is there's too much focus on the front side of raising money and preparing, like building with just kind of brute force money, right? As opposed to taking risks and exploring what this technology can open and unlock, right? And in my opinion, a lot of the decisions that people are making around the NFT industry, and I've seen it from birth, like I've been around Solana since the very beginning as well, right? Is that they're too short-sighted in where they're capping themselves by doing things like selling NFTs for their game before the game is even made. And not only before the game is only made, before the game's mechanics are even designed. Like, to me, this is extremely foolish. Mm-hmm. Because if I design an NFT before I design game mechanics of my game, then I'm going to be handicapped to whatever decisions I made with the NFT prior to designing the mechanics. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So if you think for the long term, if you're building for the long term, you don't release your NFT like in such a hurry. And if you do release an NFT that's a race, you make it clear that it's just simply a race. It has no like integration into like core game mechanics potentially, right?
Yeah.
Because, and here's another thing. Think about gamings and itemization. People don't understand this. You can't just make itemization. Itemization is a whole economy game as well, right? So you got to think about like, how am I going to sync the currencies? How am I going to control the inflation of the items? These are all things you got to think about. But just imagine this for a second. If you pre-sell all your items to your game before you even create an economy, like you've already handicapped yourself because you've sold people stuff and you can't make any significant changes, or else like people are going to be pissed off, right?
Yeah.
So I think that frankly, almost everybody that's building outside of, there's a few projects out there, they're so unknown like us, because we haven't made anything yet, so we don't have anything to really talk about. Other projects are in the same boat. There's great teams out there. And they're building with this mindset where, okay, I don't exactly know how my game's going to function yet. So for me to release NFTs that function with that game would be premature. So you know what? I'm going to focus on building the game first. And once I figured out some game mechanics to tie together with an NFT, then I will design the NFT and the game mechanics in unison and release it together, which is what we're doing. We built our game first. Our games has more development than 99% of the projects out there. But we're now just getting ready to release our first NFT for the game. And we're not even close yet. We're still designing everything because we're designing the NFT with the game mechanics in the game in mind. Yeah. And projects don't do this, man, because they don't think like a gamer. You know, they don't think about, if I actually played the game, what actions do I go through, right? They don't think about this stuff. Because if they did think about it, they wouldn't make these kind of decisions. That's my kind of like outtake on it, you know?
Yeah, that's great insight there. And just the fact that people need to be thinking more in the future and not so nearsighted, especially hearing from your own perspective where you've been in the gaming space. So you understand a lot of game mechanics and have seen a lot of game economies. It's super interesting to hear. And I think that's something that a lot of people can see in the space, that people are just very quick to move and try to execute on things without actually taking the time to build. So it seems like you guys definitely have that in mind and are 100% working towards that. I hate to cut it off here, but definitely over my hard stop. I think the best thing though is that you guys are building a ton of stuff. There's a lot of things to look forward to. So we'll definitely be keeping our ear on the ground over at NinjaProtocol at SolanaNews, and then probably even having a chat here in the next month or so once a lot more of these updates come out, and just getting to hear a lot more about what Ninja is building. But just want to thank you for coming on, Addy Dog, and talking about NinjaProtocol. I think there was a lot we got into today. So super exciting stuff.
Appreciate the time and the chance to, come out here and share about the project. So yeah, we'll definitely do it again in a couple months. Who knows what crazy stuff we're doing? Everything might be different by then. We'll see. We'll revisit it in 2 months. Like that's the beauty of it, though. Come on, we gotta explore, right? This is new technology. You can't just do whatever's the latest hype trend. You gotta think outside the box. So.
Yep. All right, we'll close that off here. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you everyone for tuning in again. If you guys want to check out more information, just go ahead and find NinjaProtocol on